Hope everybody's catching all this. We're hitting some good stuff here today. I think I have the best part because I get to talk right now about what people actually buy when they're buying a home. And that's the different property types that exist. And I kind of just want to go over them with everybody real quick, and give everybody a sense of what the bank is looking for when we're lending money on a particular property type. So just like what Ashley was talking about an individual buyer needs to be credit ready in order to get approved for a loan. The bank is also looking at the property type and deciding, is the property in good shape? Do we want to use this as collateral for a loan? Now, property comes in different types, and I want to talk about that, and then also just really briefly talk about what the bank is looking for in all the different property types. So let's start with what is the most common in the country, and that is the single family residence. We don't actually have too many of those in Harlem, but there's a few, and there's a couple of 2 to 4s. But the single family is the most straightforward review type that we do. It's generally just the appraisal and the insurances. And when we're doing the appraisal, we're obviously checking for value. Is the price, the contract price, supported by other properties of a similar nature in a similar neighborhood? We're doing that. But the appraisers are also checking out other things like health and safety issues. They'll be checking in the kitchens. Are the stoves working? Is the gas turned on? Is the water running? Is there hot water running? Is there cold water running? Does everything look like it's up to snuff and it's ready to move in? Other safety issues we might want to look at in a house are, let's say there's stairs up to a second floor, stairs down to a basement. The appraisers are going to check for things like handrails. We don't want anybody to slip and fall on a staircase. That's not good for anyone. So we're going to check on things like that. We'll also look at zoning codes. A lot of times people kind of cheat the zoning codes a little bit. We want to make sure that if a house is zoned for a single family, that it is in fact a single family. For example, what we see sometimes in the Queens market is a house that's zoned single family and it has a garage. People have tricked out the garage over the years, and they've installed running water and electricity, and they have it set up basically as a second apartment or a second home. And if the appraiser notates some of that, that's going to be a challenge for us. And we generally try to work with the realtors ahead of time. The realtors generally know the rules, and we want to make sure we're going into a good situation that has a good outcome for everyone involved. Moving on to multifamily, these are 2 to 4 family houses. You see these in the Harlem brownstones a lot. People will buy them either to live in and rent out the other units and supplement their own income with rental income, or sometimes they'll buy it straight as an investment and rent out all the units. So just like a single family, we're going to look for health and safety issues when the appraiser's there, along with valuation, which is obviously a big thing. And we just, again, want to make sure that it's zoned appropriately. That if it's zoned as a 2-family, it's actually operating as a 2-family. Or if it's zoned as a 3-family, it's actually operating as a 3-family. And again, some people cheat. Space is very, very tight in New York City, as everybody knows, and very expensive. And sometimes these things get carved up a little bit, and a 2-family may be operating as a 3-family or something like that. So, we're going to check that out and make sure everything's on the up and up. Moving on to more common collateral types, certainly in Manhattan, we look at market rate condos. Now we're going to do the same thing, send the appraiser out and check for, health and safety issues, as well as the valuation. We want to make sure the valuation is there, but we also do a deeper dive into how the condo is actually running. So we're going to check out who is living in the condo. Is it mostly individually owned owners who are there because that's where they live? Or is it mostly rentals? Or is it, has an investment group gone into a condo and bought up a huge number of units, and the condo is functioning in part like a rental building? Those are going to be concerns for us. Is there litigation going on? We want to make sure that there's no litigation that would put the association in a bad spot should the litigation go against the association, because that could cause a special assessment down the road. It could be very financially expensive for those unit owners. So we don't want to put a customer in a situation where down the road they're going to have to pay $10,000 or $15,000 in a special assessment for a lawsuit or a capital expense item that's coming up. So we're checking for things like that as well. Another thing that we have in New York is we have affordable, quote unquote, condo units. These are units that are typically have deed restrictions on them, and it keeps the purchase price a little bit more in range of many members of the Harlem community. And so we'll look at the legal docs associated with those deed restricted units. And the reason we do that is just for preservation. We want to make sure that should the loan go bad and we have to do a foreclosure, that the bank has the ability to take back the unit and then resell it on the market. And any subsidy provided to keep that cost down, the bank is not on the hook to repay. Now, luckily in New York, most condos that have deed restrictions don't have this problem, but nevertheless, it's something that we do check out. We want to make sure that everything is on the up and up. So now let's switch over to co-ops, which we probably have more co-ops than any other housing type in Manhattan. And again, no split between market and affordable. So in the market rate co-ops, very similar to condos, we're looking at the structure of the building. We're looking at lawsuits, construction defects. What is the owner composition? Is it majority owner occupied? That's very important to us. We want to see that we're lending into homeowners associations, not investor associations. So we're going to check that out. And again, luckily in New York index is very high on owner occupancy and relatively low on investor. So usually we don't have problems, but it's something that's worth checking out. And then finally, we have affordable co-ops. And in New York, these are generally referred to as HDFC co-ops. And just like deed restricted condos, we're looking at the legal docs associated with the restrictions in that building. Are there income restrictions? Are there resale pricing restrictions? Is there purchase price recapture in the event of a normal sale or in the event of a foreclosure sale? So those are things that we're all looking at. We want to make sure that the buildings themselves are good. This is important if you're a buyer, because many times you won't get this depth of information from the realtors and the sellers involved. They just want to do the transaction and be out. The bank is taking a little bit longer view on the property type, and that aligns very well with the buyers because the buyers are going to be in there for a long time. So, our goals are very aligned, both the buyer and the bank. I think that's an important thing to understand. Sometimes if we ever run into a problem, customers say, well, I love the property, I love the bathroom, I love the backsplash in the kitchen, why won't you do the loan? Well, because it's 90% investor, and that's not a good building to be in, because we know historically that that can cause very high level of delinquencies should the economy go down. That's an example I'm sharing with you right now. And then that would put a hardship on the buyer. So, these are the things we're looking at. We have the customer's best interest at hand when we're looking and evaluating all the different property types we lend into. So I'm going to end that section there. That is sort of an overview of the different property types. I'm available all the time. This is what I do for the bank. I specialize in it. I'm happy to answer anyone's question, as are all my colleagues on the call tonight with their subject matter expertise. We're all here for you. And with that, Nicole, I am going to turn it back to you.